In this video, we're going to consider where some of the best places are for you to sell your sports cards. Let's get into this. Now, when thinking about where to sell your sports cards, a lot of it comes down to what kind of sports card it is that you have. In many ways, perhaps the best first thing to do is to think about who are the types of people who are going to be most interested in that type of card that you're wanting to sell, and then seek out the spaces that they frequent. Like if you're trying to sell UFC cards, maybe a UFC face group might be a good place to focus yourself on, possibly. If you're trying to sell really high-end stuff, you want to get into those spaces where high-end buyers are looking. If you want to sell big lots of hundreds of cards at a time to try to make it quick and easy, then you need to go where people are looking for lots. Let's look at a few of these places. Let's start with the ultra high-end. I mean, if you really are looking to sell ultra high-end, like 5+ digit cards, you probably aren't watching this video. I'm guessing you already have a strategy if you're into cards that expensive. But if you are looking to sell cards like that and are watching this video, I'd probably suggest looking into the big auction houses, the Golden Heritage, PWCC type of places. Some people say that eBay may do just as well with the ultra high-end stuff, but there may be a certain level of protection that you get at those higher end auction houses that eBay just can't provide. So personally, I think it's worth considering them. The fees will be really high though, but eBay is too full of scammers for me to think of it as a comfortable place for 5 or 6 digit type of cards. Another option at the high end of things that I don't know so much about, but that some people really like, is alts liquid auctions. But I think this is more like a path to go if you're in a very specific kind of circumstance. For example, if you're at a card show and there's a different high-end card that you find that you really think is just a phenomenal can't miss deal, but you just don't have the cash reserves to be forking out 10 grand or whatever super high price it has. But you do happen to have another card in hand that is also worth 5 digits on its own. And hey look, there's an alt booth over there. Then maybe you might consider using them. Basically, the way they work is they determine a value for your card and offer you something like 60 to 80% of its value in cash on the spot. Then they put it up for auction on their website. In the unlikely event it sells for less than the amount they gave you in cash, no loss to you. You still get to keep that cash that they sent you. If it sells for higher, then Alt takes 8% of the final sale price and you get the rest. I think the auctions can go for quite a bit less than they might go in some other high-end spaces, not always but often, but this is an option if you need cash a little more quickly for something. Within the mid-range to kind of lower high-end cards, like maybe say anything in the triple digits or maybe the lower 4 digits, this is where I'd start to think eBay may be the best option. No marketplace gets as many eyeballs as eBay. And while eBay's fees are none too small, for many people looking for cards in this kind of range, eBay is going to be their first stop shop. If, on the other hand, you'd like to avoid some of the fees, cards in this range can also be good ones to consider selling at like sports card shows, if you'd be interested in setting up a booth. Selling at card shows, very often you may have to expect to sell a bit lower than it'd be on eBay, but since you aren't paying the eBay fees, you can sell for a little bit lower and still make around the same that you would have netted on eBay. You could also begin to consider things like Facebook groups and other kind of social media connected spaces with cards in this range, but though you do avoid the eBay fees going this route, you also open yourself to the potential of being cheated without any recourse. If you went the route of selling cards on Facebook groups and other similar places, I think the key is building up a network of trustworthy connections. If you're just doing a one-off sale of some cards, I personally wouldn't suggest Facebook groups. But if you're going to be doing it regularly and will be putting in the effort to actually build up a network of people you know you can trust, that's when I think it can potentially be a good path to consider. Another option if you're selling cards regularly and have a deep network is Whatnot, which has certainly become a popular way to sell and buy cards more recently. On the plus side, this option allows you to turn your cards into cash perhaps quicker than just about any other option. On the negative side, there's a very good chance your cards end up selling for quite a bit less than they would have had you gone most other routes. So that's really up to you. I personally would only consider Whatnot as a viable option if I had a very large network of people who I knew would be checking out my Whatnot auctions. If I thought there was a good chance only a few people might check it out, then I wouldn't touch it. Okay, so now let's look at cards that are under $100. Now I think there's a few options here. Personally, I really love ComC for cards in this range, which you would know about me if you watch this channel regularly, especially for cards between maybe $3 and $50 or so. It's a large marketplace with quite a few regular customers, so though your cards may not sell quite as quickly as they would on eBay, if you got good cards and good prices, you've likely got a good recipe for selling your cards there. And for cards that are somewhat lower end, there is an advantage to a customer buying up quite a bunch of cards cards from different sellers over a period of time, and then sending them back themselves a larger stash of cards all in one shipment, which can save them a lot of money on shipping costs. With more expensive cards, saving a couple bucks on shipping may not matter, but for lower end cards, not paying that $5 eBay shipping and instead just paying 25 cents for it in combination with a bunch of other cards that you're also paying 25 cents for can be a good deal. So both as a buyer and as seller, I like ComC for cards, especially like $3 to $20 cards, though really I kind of consider anything under $100 to be pretty viable and pretty good option. ComC also does all the work for you, so for lower end cards, I just find it so easy to pack up a box of several hundred cards, send it off to ComC, and then all I need to do is put a price on it, and my part of the whole equation is finished. They do all the rest of the work. They make the scans, they send it off, all that's them. I have heard some people complain about the fees on ComC, but actually once you calculate it all in, it comes out to pretty much the same as eBay, so I actually think their fee arrangement isn't so bad. Besides ComC, a few other good options for cards in this lower range, like say $3 to $100, is many of the same things I mentioned earlier, with really the same advantages and the same caveats, Facebook groups, etc. eBay is a solid option for sure at this range, but personally I'd say for cards over $20 in particular. I know some people, like Josh Unboxed for example, do really well on cards under $20 on eBay also, but for me I feel like I'd much rather use ComC for cards that low. For cards under $20, I'd rather not deal with eBay headaches. The risk of card returns, the risk of buyers who back out, the need to list and to scan and to get so many low-end cards ready for individual shipments so frequently. I'd rather just send those kinds of cards to ComC and take out the labor element if it's a low end. But then once you get to cards that are under $3, I think you have to start thinking about things a little differently. I may still occasionally sell a card that sell for maybe $1.50 to $3 on ComC, possibly, but with the 50-cent per card submission fee, if a card is only going to sell for $1.50, I really don't know if it's worth it. I mean, I guess if you had a ton of these and you're making 65 cents on all of them, it adds up. But really, that's like my bare minimum. $1.50 is the absolute cutoff for anything I'd consider sending to ComC. Usually I won't even, if it's under $3, I might not send it unless I've got just a little bit of extra room in a box I'm preparing. I'm like, oh, I can fit 10 more cards. Here's a few $2 cards. I'll toss them in to just fill out the box. Then I'll go ahead and do that. Another thing to do with cards under $3, if you're going to set up as a card show, is use these kinds of cards to fill up different levels of budget boxes. You could have a 25 cent per card box, a 50 cent per card box, a $1 box, maybe a $2 box. These can attract more people to your booth, and people at your booth attract other people to your booth, and people at your booth is a good thing. Another website to check out if you have a lot of really cheap stuff is Sport Lots. This is a good place to sell lots of cards. If you put together your cards into larger lots of cards from one player or one team or one set or some other combination of cards that you think someone might be interested in, then you can sell them in lots. You can do the same on eBay as well, but Sport Lot tends to get quite a few eyeballs of people who are very specifically looking to buy lots. For the most part, it's the main reason a buyer is on that site, so it's a good one to consider for the ultra low end of things. Their fee structure, however, is pretty steep if you don't sell often. They take their commission fee over a month's worth of sales, and the more you sell on the site, the lower percentage their take. So if you have a whole bunch of different lots you want to sell all within the same calendar month, that's when I think this may be the best option. If you have a ton of base common cards, another route some people take is setting up something like a complete your set kind of listing on eBay, where people can request to buy very specific common cards that they need to complete their sets. I don't know too much about this path, but I have heard of people doing this and selling common base cards that probably wouldn't really sell in other ways, and it does make sense. If someone is looking to complete a set and just needs like 10 or 15 of the cheapest base cards from some set to finish it, those cards can sometimes be hard to find in the wild. They usually end up stuffed in somebody's shoebox for decades or getting tossed in a garbage can or donated or something, so some really common base stuff can actually be really difficult for people to find who are trying to track it down. I think people in that kind of situation, they're really thankful for people who create kind of complete your set kind of eBay listings. Another thing you could do with your low-end cards like this is just to give them away or donate them. Goodwill offers charitable donation tax benefits if you go that route, or just giving them away to kids at Halloween or something, or as donations to a children's hospital or something. These are all nice options. If I was to whittle down everything I've said here into just the basic approach I myself would be most likely to take once I move back to the US, for now I'm most exclusively using ComC just because it's much easier for me to do from abroad. But once I move back to the US, it might look something like this. and then card shows intermixed within all of these things, because I'm probably going to start attending quite a lot of card shows once I move back to the US as well. But others are going to have different suggestions, so if you have different approaches to selling cards, please let us know in the comments below. But that's it for this video. Peace.